a wrist problem that he has. And Offaly are warming up substitute Carl Slattery from Gracefield.
Yeah, I think that wrist injury was sustained when he added to the ball in the air at that time. He may have sprained the wrist, but certainly he seems to be in considerable pain at the moment, and it won't be a surprise if he's replaced.
Well, Pádraig Nolan has done a great job with Offaly. It must be said that this Offaly display, it doesn't quite reflect some of their league performances. And Killian Farrell's determination, I'm sure, and spirit will ensure that he stays. In fact, he hit the ball with his damaged wrist and obviously added to the problem. Trevor Giles to take this. Hits it to the right and wide. The fourth wide of the game for Meath. They really have taken every opportunity, and this is the first miss by their centre half forward. Well, Pádraig Nolan, who was a former teacher in St Patrick's Navan and indeed guided them to 2 Leinster titles, a team that consisted of Trevor Giles, so his knowledge of Meath football is quite intense, and perhaps part of the reason for Offaly's strategy working so far. But I emphasise so far. Ronan Mooney, James Grennan giving it long. Cormac Murphy. Defensively, Meath look very composed. Richie Keeley. James Brady. And that's over the sideline. 9 ball to Meath.
Whereas the Meath team might be composed defensively, they're not helping their cause, Marty, though, with the quality of their passing from there into the forward line. A lot of it is very wayward actually throughout the game. It's not giving their inside players in particular much of a chance.
Anthony Moyles, and the very point that Martin Carney had just muttered, you can see why he was saying it. So well done, Martin. Poor distribution from their half-back line in midfield, giving their forwards little or no opportunity, such as this here. And Evan Kelly having to work very hard to gather possession. Barry Callahan into the space. And Barry Malone will quite happily see it go out over the line. Donald Curtis got a touch to it, and Pádraig Kelly was alert. And feeds Finbar Cullen at the far side. No real options available because there are 3 Meath players here in the centre. And here comes Nigel Crawford. Now, an Offaly counter-attack. That's a far better ball. It's the type of ball we've been talking about. This time, Darren Fay did very well, but goes out just barely over the sideline. Vinnie Claffey is the target here. Gets away from Enda McManus. The support outside is Bell Keenahan. It's kicked wayward and very much wide.
That is absolutely criminally wasteful, because if they're going to win the game, they must translate chances like that into scores.
Barry Malone. Barry Mooney wrong. James Grennan. Barry Mooney once more. It's a poor ball for Mel Keenahan. That's another sideline ball to Meath. Leading by 1 point from an Offaly perspective is not enough when your opponents happen to be the All-Ireland champions and they're from Meath. That's a good ball to Evan Kelly, to Trevor Giles, and that is amazingly to the left and wide again. Well, their plan in Offaly during the week was to crowd out the space for Trevor Giles. Now, there are 3 players there around him, none of them really putting him off, it must be said, on this occasion, but they certainly have done their best to make sure that he had little space. Offaly introduce Carl Slattery. Carl is from Gracefield, and going off is Killian Farrell, who has suffered, of course, from that wrist injury. Great catch by Nigel Crawford. Barry Callahan getting there ahead of James Brady. Here's Evan Kelly, given a little bit of space. Has the chance here, Ollie Murphy, and good defending by Offaly, and Barry Mooney in particular. Oh, is that off the ground? Referee says no. And for not distributing the ball or getting rid of the ball, he concedes the free. I think justice perhaps was done in the end.
Well, he may have picked the ball up off the ground actually in the first place, but I think the free itself, when it was given, was a little bit harsh against him.
Yes, I think there was a pick-up off the ground there. Now, free for the county of Meath and Trevor Giles. He's been successful 5 times out of 6. This is quite a difficult angle. Hits it well and hits it. Kept in. And Offaly come away with it, and James Brady. James Grennan. That goes off a Meath man, is it? Let's see what the linesman has indicated. And way down the field, the linesman has indicated the ball went out over the line. Sean Boylan, deeply concerned.
Yeah, one of the things that's very noticeable at the moment, an awful lot of the Offaly half-forward line are pushing back into their own half, and they're drawing an awful lot of pressure down into their own team.
And that ball was just barely missed by Trevor Giles. And the keeper came off his line and is in a certain amount of pain now. Let's just watch this again. As that ball came across, the goalkeeper seemed to be put off by Trevor Giles. Giles seemed to collide with him. And Pori Kelly is still getting some medical attention.
I think indeed both teams will be glad of the breather at the moment, Marty, because it has been hell for leather for the first 22 minutes of the second half. And I think this little rest period will give both of them a chance to just more or less assess the situation and hopefully be a little bit more constructive over the last 10 minutes or so.
Your point is, though, Martin, that Offaly, the half-forward line and midfield, have adopted a more defensive strategy and thus putting more pressure on themselves.
Yeah, very much so. I think the half-forward line in particular has gone too deep, but the Offaly midfield to date has been outstanding, both Brennan and Ronan Mooney. But McDermott and Crawford over the last 5 minutes or so are starting to get a grip there. And Offaly's case isn't being helped by the fact that the half-forward line is coming down too far.
Richie Keeling. Interesting switch off camera is that Cormac Murphy has now been switched over by Sean Boylan to mark Vinnie Claffey. And McManus is now playing left cornerback. Just a little touch, enough to put off the run by Nigel Crawford. Barry Mooney. Richie Keeling. Offaly half-forward line, as mentioned by Martin, seems to have lost their way at the moment. Cormac Murphy gets himself out of trouble. Feeds Nigel Crawford. James Brady. The push was on the Offaly man. It's going to be a free to the faithful boys. Just 10 minutes left in this absorbing Leinster Championship match. Can Meath come back? Is it possible for Offaly to dethrone the Leinster and All-Ireland champions? And Meath have called on the multi-talented Tommy Dowd to get them out of trouble. So a change in the Meath attack is now likely. As Tommy goes up to the corner forward position, it's Barry Callahan that's going to make way for him. Nigel Crawford. First ball for Tommy Dowd. Breaks it away. And that is going over the bar. Thanks to Donald Curtis for his third point of the match. And Meath and Offaly are level yet again. 7 times in this Leinster Championship match here at headquarters, Offaly and Meath have ended up on equal terms.
Again, it's no surprise that Tommy Dowd has come in, because the attack in general has been, quite barren. Curtis has been the only one who's scored consistently from play, and if they're to win, Ollie Murphy, I think, needs a little bit more help in the inside line.
Finbar Cullen hits it back to David Foley and Barry Malone. Sean Grennan is available in the centre. Enda McManus. Offaly forward line seems to have lost their way a little bit. And they'll try once more. That's a better ball. As Offaly, Paul Keelan sends it in towards Sean Grennan. Nice skill. But the final shot well wide. Well, you might have seen a moment ago Paul Keelan from the Road Club. He came on just a few moments ago for Roy Malone. And here comes Offaly now. Colm Quinn. They seem to go through these periods where they absorb everything that Meath can throw at them, and there's more to come. As Enda McManus sends a straight pass. Vinnie Claffey did very well to get away from 3 Meath challenges. The support is from Finbar Cullen to his right. Claffey on the run, and Claffey sends it over the bar. And Offaly are back in front.
That's an absolutely fabulous point from Claffey, because he made that by getting in a tackle, went for a ball that was 40-60, got the ball cut through and scored. Having a tremendous game with the possession that he's getting.
And Meath have to do it again. Corey Kelly. James Brady makes himself available once more. Down towards David Foley. Stepping aside, trying to step aside the challenge of Paddy Reynolds. Evan Kelly. Trevor Giles, the architect of so many scores for Meath on normal days, but not today, as Nigel Crawford sends it wide. 7 wides for Meath in this match, and they trail by just the minimum.
One thing you must credit both teams with, they have given tremendous effort in this game. I haven't seen a game as intensely contested as this in a long time. And both sets of players, for the most part, have been very sporting. I know there's been a certain amount of pulling and dragging, but the second half, they have got at it, they've gone for the ball, and even though it's been a low enough scoring game, it's been wonderfully absorbing contest.
The change there that you might have spotted is that Bernard O'Brien is introduced and Mel Keenahan is taken off. And Offaly need possession if they're going to produce the shock of the first Leinster Championship in the new millennium. Is it possible? Very much so at the moment. But this is one of the greatest footballing counties that they're up against. The county of Meath. Vinnie Claffey is being booked for that sliding tackle, and it's going to be a free for the champions.
But certainly Vinnie Claffey in this at that stage was absolutely out in his ear. He was after taking on 2 players, and admittedly he did foul Evan Kelly and deservedly is booked. But I think the little rest he's getting at the moment will do the legs no harm at all for the last couple of minutes.
So Vinnie Claffey has booked confirmation. It's nerve-tingling, heart-stopping stuff in Croke Park. 5 minutes left, less than 5 in fact left in this match. Well, this will send reverberations around the Gaelic football world. It's hardly ever you see Sean Boylan scratch his head in frustration.
Oh, you can understand his frustration, because what ball they're getting, they're not using it well. They're overhitting passes, they're misdirecting passes, and in fact both teams are doing it, but for Meath at the moment, who are behind, is critical.
Possession now is absolutely crucial, and Offaly have it. Colm Quinn. They're aiming at Vinnie Claffey every single time, and away he goes again. He needs the support outside. It's there. Sean Brennan. Finbar Cullen skipping his way past. Now, can he take the shot? He can! Remarkable! Finbar Cullen, captain a few years ago. Remember, he has a very bad ankle, and here he is today, playing a man-of-the-match performance, rambling around midfield, picking up the loose ball, and then going forward and scoring a point that will forever remain in the memories of Offaly people if they happen to beat Meath. Such drama, excitement, but it's not over. I caution every viewer, because this is Meath that Offaly are facing. A Meath team that sadly miss the Graham Geraghties and indeed the Hank Trainers. But to be fair, Offaly are also missing Kieran McManus above all else. They're overjoyed in Croke Park. The majority might be watching this match at home, but I'm sure at this moment there isn't anybody leaving the pub or the house or wherever, because if you're Offaly, this is history perhaps in the making. Vinnie Claffey, jersey being pulled, linesman is waving his flag. He waved it a moment ago. Enda McManus now has it. Referee didn't spot the foul. Intercepting well, beautiful stuff is Bernard O'Brien. Chance for Colm Quinn, it's floated over the crossbar. Majestic football from the faithful county. This is unbelievable. The shock surely of the championship is happening before your eyes as Bernard O'Brien set up Colm Quinn for this magnificent point. A free for Offaly. The free by Colm Quinn. Up towards Sean Brennan. Enda McManus loses possession, but it was an illegal challenge, and it's a free out to Meath. Donny Ryan is on for Offaly, and Vinnie Claffey has been substituted. Now, Tommy Dowd waits for the support coming from behind. That support was Ollie Murphy, and Ollie Murphy is fouled.
Again, Marty, we're going into overtime. Are we going to get this last-minute rally from Meath?
Corey Kelly comes off his line. Gives it long, but it comes straight to John McDermott. Corey Kelly, meanwhile, is making a mad dash back to his goal line. This is danger for Offaly. And a chance for Meath, knocked away, and they have it once more. A fist was thrown on Colm Quinn, not an open-handed effort to win the possession, and it's a free for Offaly.
No, I think Quinn is making the most of that, and one must credit Quinn with a fantastic game all through. His work rate has been marvellous. He's ended up scoring 4 points, 3 or 4 points for them, but in the second half his leadership and his ability to get the ball forward along with the Grennans certainly have contributed to this apparent Offaly victory.
We're into injury time in Croke Park. And Corey Kelly, the Offaly goalkeeper, will be in no rush. What a marvellous match we've had in Croke Park. Well, Offaly beat Meath in the final of '97. but they lost in 98 and 99. Meath were going for their third Leinster Championship victory over Offaly. But what a change. Those who doubted Offaly's spirit, pride, tenacity should hold their heads in shame, because this is the faithful county surely recording a victory that will go down in history. The clearance is not a good one. Finbar Cullen again has it. Coming up from the defence is Ronan Mooney, who was a moment ago deep inside his own half of the field. And another free for Offaly. 2 minutes played of injury time. This will be undoubtedly the talking point for a long time. Meath, the All-Ireland and Leinster champions, are about to say bye-bye to their titles as Colin Quinn adds his 7th point of the match.
I think there's one general point that could be made, Marty. There was a freshness about Offaly today, and as against that there was a staleness about Meath, which was hard to fathom, but the freshness, I think, is what won the game.
And Meath are out of the Leinster and All-Ireland Championship. Offaly have made amends, and Pádraig Nolan, the Offaly manager, departs the scene. Congratulate Sean Boylan, who is starting his 18th championship season. But for Pádraig Nolan, this is a moment to savour. There were criticisms of the Offaly team that lost to Louth in the Division 2 League final. They came here with little or no confidence in terms of their own people, bar a few. And those few turned up in Croke Park. But amongst the football panel, they believed today was going to be their day. And Vinnie Claffey, a man of the match performance, a corner forward, broke the hearts of the Meath team. Couldn't score from play last year, and he went on a scoring spree today of 4 points. This is magic. This is the beauty of the Gaelic Football Championship. Nobody really knows who is going to win. Who would ever have guessed that Meath, the All-Ireland champions, would fail at the very first fence in their plight to hold on to their championships? There is the full-time score. Offaly 13 points, Meath 9 points. No doubt about who deserves the congratulations. Well, there may have been less than 10,000 people here, Martin Kearney, but we saw something very special.
It was wonderful stuff, and what the great thing about Offaly is they had a belief to sustain the effort. I thought halfway through the second half they might have run out of steam, they might have lacked belief, but they got stronger and stronger as the game went on, and it's a credit to their coach to have gotten to this stage in the last 5 or 6 weeks, because when we saw them here in the Division 2 final a couple of weeks ago, I'll tell you, you wouldn't give it a penny for the chances today. But right through the field from number 1 to 15, they were magnificent. Cullen was marvellous at left half back, the Grennans were magnificent, Colin Quinn at left half forward was wonderful, but Claffey in the corner, to my mind, was man of the match. Tremendous stuff.
And down on the sideline we have our reporter there, Ryan Nugent.
Vinny, how can you put words on that performance? You were written off, league campaign didn't go as well as many people thought it should have, and yet you come and beat the All-Ireland champions.
Absolutely. I tell you, the only thing we'd put it down to, just the spirit that's in Offaly. There's a spirit built up in the 60s, the 70s and the 80s, and it showed there today. We went out and, like you say, we weren't given a chance, and the people we did it for was the 30 or whatever was in the panel, and all the supporters that were there and everyone watching it. It's just an unbelievable feeling, but we knew going out we could do it, and I suppose that's why we did it.
On your own personal performance, there's been talk about this was going to be your last match if Offaly lost. Surely that's not going to be the way now.
Probably not. I was suffering a lot from injuries. I haven't trained for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it's an unbelievable testament to that team, because it was about 4 or 5 players, the very same as myself. We hadn't done a full training session in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and still we went out there today and won that match. Fair dues to me. They played football and they came back at us at the end, and lucky enough we just got a few scores at the right time.
In your own wonderful career, how does this rate?
That rates with the best of our wins. There's a few people I'd like to thank for being able to play there today. Martina and Mags, the physio, and Jerry O'Reilly down in Lochray. It was looking at one stage like I wouldn't line out today, and they kept me going and they got me on the field there today, even though I didn't finish the match.
Go and enjoy it, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you. And I'm also joined now by Pádraig. Pádraig, there's going to be a lot of people looking at this result and having to check it twice. I presume you won't.
No, well, You know, it was easy for us to come in here with no pressure. Lads were very relaxed about it, but like people forgot that these lads have won a Leinster final, they've won a league, there's a lot of experience there. And, you know, there was a lot of things written in the last couple of weeks that hurt the players. And, you know what I mean, I was disappointed when it, but, you know, they played the better football today. But fair play to Meath, they fought to the bitter end, you know, like my heart was in my mouth, you know, they could get a goal at the end. They're a tremendous team, and for us, it's just the first round. There's nothing there other than that. You know, we'll certainly enjoy ourselves, but it's only the first round.
When you read the papers and you hear everybody saying Offaly have no chance, Meath just really have to show up, I mean, does that inspire, and did you have to say much before today's game?
No, very little. When the draw was made last November, the fellas just looked at it and said, you know what I mean, they've played me the last 3 years, this is the fourth time in 4 years, and it's just a case of our turn will come and let's work at it, and that's what we did.
You surely get a smile from you, All-Ireland champions. I mean, it must feel good.
Yeah, it is. Like, it's a tremendous honour for me to be associated with these players. Like, these fellas did everything I asked of them. You know what I mean? They're a great bunch of lads. You know, they fought, you know what I mean? You know, I feel very sorry that Kieran wasn't able to be part of this. You know, like, kind of his heart and soul. You know, John Kenny as well, John Ryan, you know, these lads, you know, have soldiered with us all along. And there were times over the last few weeks, you know, people probably wondered what we were at. We were just trying to patch fellas together. But like, I knew in my heart and soul that we'd 70 minutes of football, and as we work as hard as we could for the day, and then see what happens after that.
Final question, can this team win a Leinster championship?
We've won the first round. It's Kildare or Louth. Louth gave us a hammering 4 weeks ago. That'll be tough. Kildare will be very tough. And that's all. I wouldn't look any bit beyond that. It's just the first round. You know, it's tremendous for the lads, but it's just the first round.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you very much.
Well, some of the players that Pádraig Moran mentioned there who missed today's game, some of them will get a chance in another day, but for the All-Ireland champions Meath, Colin O'Rourke, it's the end of the road. Great champions, and we're tipped by so many to retain the title this year.
Yes, and beaten by the better team, and you know, people in Meath can have no excuses. And it would be amiss of me not to congratulate my old colleague, Pádraig Nolan.
Of course, you know from, yeah.
Yeah, who has contributed an awful lot to underage football in Meath with his association with St. Pat's. And he's done what he did in St. Pat's. He's always been a player's man. He always was willing to work very hard. He's a gentleman to boot. So from that point of view, I'm delighted for Pádraig. But obviously, fierce disappointment with the Meath performance. Offaly were hungrier. They were the better side. And, you know, OK, we can talk about the loss of Graham Geraghty. That was balanced out by the loss of Kieran McManus. Days like this, you don't make excuses. Meath went out. They had the resources that they had for a lot of games. Offaly were the better team. Absolutely no complaints. And it was nice for Vinnie Claffey too. Again, I said at half-time that over the last couple of years he's found it very difficult against Mark Riley, and it showed real bravery and courage on his part to turn around 2 bad years and give a match-winning performance for Offaly. The likes of Colin Quinn and Finbar Cullen, they are good players, and while I was very disappointed with them against Louth, I thought that they didn't show the normal heart that you associate with Offaly, because that's the one thing you always know. And I played against Offaly for many years in the championship, and they really fought like tigers. Today, that sort of heart and courage back in their play, and they're always a formidable outfit when they play like that.
Well, you see, this is the thing, Pat. I mean, I know people are going to ring in now and start saying you didn't give Offaly, we didn't give Offaly a chance and didn't do them credit and so forth. But I mean, Meath with the All-Ireland champions, as Colin said, we saw Offaly in Croke Park the day of the league final draw, and you couldn't pick them to win this match.
Well, judging by the Offaly support that was there today, I think most of us are actually watching us on television today because they had poor support. But I suppose it's time to eat humble pie. In fairness, what had we to go on? We saw the Division 2 league final against Louth, where they didn't score from play in the last 25 minutes, and where they really looked very, very poor. Now, that was Division 2 football. This was a step up to Division 1, to Meath, to Championship football. But credit where credit is due. I mean, they turned on a performance today which made them deserving winners. But the one thing about defending All-Ireland titles, it's very hard to defend an All-Ireland title. You need the same commitment, you need the same determination, you need the same hunger. And it's very, very hard to get. I've always maintained this. It's very hard anymore to put 2 All-Irelands back to back. The amount of training they're putting in, the amount of sacrifice they have to make is absolutely horrendous. So they start back in immediately in the aftermath of the All-Ireland, and they know there's 9 months of slogging ahead, and they say, I wonder what's in it for us, and at the end of the day there's only a medal or whatever like that. And to a lot of fellas that's not the commitment, and that's not, you know, they don't give the same. And you saw there today, Offaly were the hungrier, they were the sharper team, they deserve to win, and there's no doubt about it. And it's nice to see a level-headed manager like Patrick Nolan not getting carried away. It is, after all, the first round. They were hammered by Louth, they could be facing Louth again, but deserving winners on the day. But like I said, we can eat humble pie, but I genuinely think that from what we had seen the forum previous to today, that Offaly hadn't displayed anything that made us suggest that they could upset the apple cart.
OK, did Meath have the hunger or didn't they? That's a question I'll put to Colin O'Rourke after this commercial break. Stay with us. So the crowd have drifted away from Croke Park. The Meath crowd have gone home disappointed, of course, but nonetheless looking back at some very good years in Championship football. Offaly will be ecstatic this evening. Here are the statistics from this afternoon's live match here. Offaly winning the game 13 points to 9. The frees continue to mount up through the course of that game. 9 wides to Offaly, 8 to Meath. That was pretty even, Stephen. 145 and then 5 yellow cards, Meath having just the 1 more than Offaly. Now, back in studio, let me pick up a point, Colin O'Rourke, that Pat Spillane was making there before the break, that it is now harder than ever it was to retain a championship. The commitment that was required, was it there in Meath?
Well, it wasn't there today anyway. I suppose it was very obvious. But I think the important point is that Meath's key men from last year were Darren Fay, John McDermott, Trevor Giles, Ollie Murphy and Graham Geraghty. And today, none of the fellas who were playing made a huge impact on the game. And for Meath to function and anything like they were last year, they needed all of these fellas going very well, especially in the absence of Geraghty. So, you know, what we saw there today was all of them struggling with their own game, so they weren't sort of able to give anybody else a dig out. And it came down to a situation, Meath only scoring 2 points from play in that second half. Ronan Fitzsimons, Donald Curtis being the top scorer, 3 points from play. I think only 1 other from play in the whole game. So that tells its own story. Meath were struggling all over the field. Offaly were much hungrier, they were much sharper to the breaking ball around the middle of the field. And on a day like today, with a wet ball and a greasy surface, there wasn't going to be any high fielding. So you needed your half forwards and your half backs coming in and on the breaks. And certainly Offaly dominated in that regard, because Sean Grennan and Finbar Cullen and Colin Quinn, they picked nearly all the breaks up in the middle of the field. But again, I'd make the point, Meath should have no complaints. You know, they've had a good run of it, but today, when it went down to the fight, Offaly just were the sharper outfit.
Meath's league campaign that took them to the final, and then of course a replay, would that have had any bearing on it?
Well, I always said that that was the worst thing possible, you know, when you look back on it now, because it cost him Graham Geraghty for his indiscretion in the final. It also cost a few injuries, because Hank Traynor got injured out of that too, and of course he was missing from the back. So, you know, the price of getting to the league final and the replay was high. Initially, I thought it would be great for Meath, because it would give them a good run into the championship, because the game sequence was just about perfect. The replay against Derry was a fortnight ago, so you would think that's the perfect lead up. You didn't have to be going looking for these Mickey Mouse challenge matches, but as it turned out, they were costly in one sense. But like on the other side of it, you have to say, Offaly were missing just as many players. When you think about Kieran McManus and John Ryan and John Kenny, they're all quality players too. So, like, you know, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
OK, Pat Spillane, looking at it from an Offaly point of view, I mean, they had a lot of ground to make up as well. And again, looking back at their league campaign, which we spoke about before the break, they would have gone away from that wondering, where are we going?
They did, but they strung together an unbeaten run of 8 games, and that builds up confidence, irrespective of who the opposition is, you know. And like, remember 3 years ago when they beat Meath in the Leinster final, they probably didn't get the credit they deserved for that victory, because it was said at the time, which was quite justifiable, and so is that Meath were short a lot of players through injuries and suspension. So today, they were on level terms, but they beat Meath at their own game, attacking in packs, hungrier, going first to the ball. But like, the game was level on, I think, something like 7 occasions that the teams were level. And I would have put my house, my shirt and the family that Meath were never going to lose, because Meath never lose tight games. Today is one of those rare days that Offaly, like I said, beat them at their own game. And like, for a long spells there in the first or in the start of the second half, Offaly were dominating the possession, winning midfield, and they were kicking it away. And I was saying, this is it now. It was the same last year. After 12 minutes, you know, Ollie Murphy got a goal last year and they just pulled ahead. And I said, Offaly were missing. Meath will come up, get a goal, and it will be all over. But it didn't happen today.
Well, I was making the point during the coverage of that match, Colin, or the early part of it anyway, that Sean Boylan had been looking down at the grass at one stage, thought, I suppose, maybe in the early couple of minutes that, well, it would go Meath's way. It didn't work out that way. He's a gracious manager, gracious loser I'm sure as well, and he's talking now to Ryle.
Thank you, Michael. I'm joined by Sean Boylan. Sean, you've come from the changing room. What's it like?
Sure, it's a bit like a morgue in there, Riley. It's not a morgue, but it's a bit like a morgue, naturally enough. No one likes to be beaten in the first round of a championship, and that's the way it is inside there. But there's no excuses. Your best team won on the day. We had our chances. Things were 9-8. We had a chance of going a couple of points. But give credit to Offaly for a wonderful display. They probably outthought us. They seemed fresher. When you're winning, you always seem fresher. But yeah, we thought we prepared well. We're making no excuses for fellas that were injured or not available or anything like that at all. Best team took us, and fair play to Pádraig and the lads.
I was just about to ask you about that. You did have players missing, and how much does that disrupt the preparation?
Well, it does, but at the same time, you never know until fellas go out there. Many a man has come in before, and I would say that none of the lads who come in fresh or new there today let us down today. So they all had a right good go at it. Just we weren't good enough on the day. We weren't able to penetrate them.
You've been in the game a long time. How surprised were you to see that Offaly performance? Because they really haven't shown that much. Not a bit. A month ago, when they played against Louth, that was the day we got worried, because we knew that they obviously must have been preparing very hard for this championship encounter. And they had won, I suppose, the league before and had gone out in the first round of Leinster. This year, we were in a situation where we might have won the league, but we didn't. We weren't able to win it. And they put us out. And that's the way football goes. No Pádraig Nolan, no a lot of the lads who are playing out there today, and we saw the team that they had picked. We knew this was a real good side. So it was going to go down to the wire. At the end, Offaly, they ran out very worthy winners. You're putting a brave face on it, but deep down you must be truly disappointed and very shocked. I'm not very shocked. Not very shocked. When you're involved in football, you can never be very shocked, because they're all human, all the lads. They all have a day job, and you can't expect them to perform, out of the top drawer all the time. But once you're there, you always expect it, that you always hope that it's going to happen. Now today, it didn't happen, and so you're never prepared for it. You never want to see it happening. But if the reality is what takes place out there on the field, not what's written about, not what we talk about or anything else, is the actual playing of the game, and they played it better than we did today. So fair play to them. I can't let you go without asking you. You will go on for another year? I've no idea, no more than any other time, whether we win or lose the championship. From the time we first became involved, today is my day with my players, because it's very easy to be there when things are going well. This is a very rough day in a lot of lads, because they felt that they were capable of having a go again. And any decision, personal decisions or anything like that, leave that down the road. That's for another day. Sean, thank you for joining us. Thanks, Ryle. Thanks very much. Okay, thank you. Okay.
We've come to feel that Meath manager's job is a lifetime one for Sean Boylan. But Pat Spillane, let's come back to the match again and talk us through the second half and how it unfolded. At the beginning of the second half, 5 points each. Then Offaly started to get all these chances and wasted them. And as you said before we met Sean there, you thought, here we go, kind of, they're not going to do it.
Well, bar a 15-minute spell in the second half where Meath dominated, Offaly dominated the whole game, and here was the early stages of the second half where they were winning ball well, and in a lot of cases they were isolating Vinnie Claffey well, and they were getting good quality ball. Meath never got good quality ball, but in a few instances where fellas had good chances of scoring, they missed them. And like I said it at this stage to remark to you that this more the same. But at the end of the day, Meath only kicked one wide less than them. But you can see the quality of the ball they were getting. They always seem to have a little bit more time and space. They were very, very good at using the cross-field ball. Good support play here. But a bad miss by Finn Barcola. Now, in fairness, the guy is carrying a bad ankle today. He plays left half back and he ended up scoring 2 points. Yeah. So not a bad contribution at all. But like I said, I would have said at the start now of that half when they were missing so many that their chances were gone out to win it. But the one thing about this, last week we saw Antrim. Today we saw Offaly. The great thing about the football championship this year so far is, for a change, it's unpredictable, and we badly need fresh faces and new teams in it, and it's great for the game. It mightn't have been a great game, but it was absorbing, like Marty said.
When Ronan Fitzsimons got the point for Meath in the second half, we thought that it was going to be predictable. There wasn't going to be a new face, because I thought this turned the corner for Meath.
Yeah, certainly, and Ronan Fitzsimons had got a lot of possession out the field, and this was just coming straight after a time when Offaly had a lot of pressure and kicked a few bad wides, and he went up and kicked a great point. But I think that was with about 25 minutes to go, and after that Meath just got 1 point then for the rest of the game. So that was indicative of the type of stranglehold that Offaly took for that last quarter of the match. At that stage, I was absolutely sure, because Meath normally win games from those circumstances. You know, teams miss a few chances, Meath come up and get an easy point, and then they get a grip on proceedings. Instead of that, it was a complete turnaround from the normal process you associate with Meath. The big Meath guns just didn't fire in that last quarter, and instead of that, Offaly came, and Finbar Cullen went down and kicked 2 points. Just shows how brave he was. He wasn't afraid to keep shooting after missing a bad one earlier. He went down and kicked 2 points from play.
And yet it's amazing, Pat, how one little incident could have changed everything. Trevor Giles got a chance of a goal, skimmed across the goal, could have gone anywhere.
This was very much a half chance, though. I mean, this is the one thing. I mean, Offaly created 2 clear goal scoring chances in the first half. Meath created none. This was a half chance which could have sneaked in. Trevor, there was great bravery showed
there was
by the
nobody
goal.
home in the goal at that stage. So,
but good bravery by Patrick Kelly. He was out. Good bravery by Trevor Giles as well. And it, like I said, it was a yard wide. Who knows? But the one thing about just referring to that time when they dominated, like they were in the middle of the second half, Meath dominated. They picked up all the breaks around the middle of the field. The defence was sweeping up everything. At the final. In the final third, they failed. The ball into the final third was very poor, and this is 2 things. One, they missed. Trevor Giles was playing poorly today. He was in. The boys had them. Offaly had their homework done. He was crowded out, so he wasn't there to link the ball from the defence into the attack. And secondly, because he wasn't the distributor, he wasn't the playmaker. All that was left to them was to kick 50-50 ball. And without Geraghty, they hadn't a ball-winning forward, a target man inside her. And I think that's proved costly to Meath in the end.
well, it most certainly did. But credit to the way Offaly finished this match, because when push comes to shove, the last few minutes of a tight game, Colin, they did it.
Yes, and normally too, what Offaly started to do with, say, about 15 minutes, a lot of their half hours went back into defence, which suited Meath perfectly, because Meath were mopping up everything in the middle of the field. I think this was the crucial score. Cormac Murphy was coming out with the ball and lost it, and Vinnie Claffey, who had a wonderful match from start to finish, picks it up and goes straight through. And then we had Sean Brennan showing a great bit of power here to Finbar Cullen, who's also coming through on the overlap. Good hands there by a couple of Offaly players, offloading the ball quickly in a wet